What is criminal law and what areas of crime does it cover?
So criminal law encompasses really anything. So there's some overlap with traffic violations, but it can range from theft, disorderly conduct, all the way to burglary and homicide. So it really encompasses really any laws or rules that we have in our society. And the criminal law is broken down into misdemeanors and felonies. So misdemeanors, the penalty consequences result in jail, probation. Felonies, there's different classifications of felonies ranging from prison and different depending on the classification of felony, and then additional supervision as well through extended supervision. So if there's a rule that's broken, it's like it could be a crime, and that really encompasses really a lot of what's the laws in this country.
What are the first steps for dealing with your criminal law case?
So one of the first steps, if you get charged with a crime or notice of a crime, that you've committed a crime, the first step should always be at least consulting with an attorney, because there's a lot of potential consequences when you're charged and even then found guilty and convicted of a crime, from immigration status, eligibility to vote, to possess firearms, and any it could also have implications on employment and other eligibility for funding. So it's very important, if you get any sort of charge or notice that you've been charged with a crime, at least consulting with an attorney, and then from there deciding whether that's something you want to move forward with and have an attorney represent you on.
If I am arrested, what are my rights?
Very good question. It's a very important question. So when you're arrested and taken into custody by police, you have the absolute right to have an attorney present when police ask you questions and when you give answers. So it's very important that if that's your wish, you make that very clear to law enforcement officers, and that request will be respected. But that's the absolute right. You have the absolute right to not be questioned without counsel present. Going hand in hand with that is your absolute right to remain silent. So it's very important that if you don't feel comfortable, or if there's any situation, protecting your rights to remain silent without, especially when you're unrepresented.
If you are appointed a lawyer by the court, do you still have the option to hire your own attorney?
Absolutely. So the choice to have an attorney and what attorney is for the most part up to the individual to feel comfortable with the attorney. But if you're appointed attorney and then somehow don't qualify, or you just decide that you have the ability and wish to hire your own attorney, you're absolutely able to do so.
How do lawyers interact with police officers in criminal law cases?
So in criminal law, there's two sets of attorneys. The one side is the district attorneys, and they represent the state or the public. So in nearly every case like that, the police officers are kind of their witnesses on their side, if you want to look at it that way. As defense attorneys, really the interaction with law enforcement really is limited to, in part through some investigation, but importantly in the criminal process is, motion hearings, preliminary hearings, and other hearings where there's evidentiary issues. And that comes by the officer being a witness, or offering additional information in a hearing setting. And also in a trial proceeding or posture, the police officers in that capacity would be a witness likely called by the state and then cross-examined by the defense attorney.
What is the difference between a public defender and a court-appointed lawyer?
So there are a lot of similarities. So they're both licensed attorneys in Wisconsin. So public defenders, people are qualified for a public defender representation if they meet certain financial criteria. And oftentimes, if an individual financially doesn't qualify for a public defender, and they can't then afford to hire their own attorney, there's a middle ground in which a person could petition the court for the court to appoint an attorney. It's at a much lower rate than hiring your private counsel, and the individual would make payments back to the county for those attorney's fees. So there are different availabilities. So in a criminal proceeding, the defendants have the right to an attorney, and it's just a matter of what way one can acquire representation, either through the public defender, hiring their own, or the middle ground of having a court-appointed attorney.
How is Hawley, Kaufman Kautzer's approach to criminal law cases unique to our law firm, and why should potential clients feel comfortable in approaching us with their case?
Sure. So I think that Hawley, Kaufman Kautzer has the reputation for being aggressive and effective advocates for our criminal defense clients. Everyone's circumstances isn't the same. So when we approach a criminal case, we approach it as it's unique as it is. We get to know the client, the background, the facts and circumstances of every case. So just as every OWI is different in how it started, how the person got there, and what happened in each case, down to the blood test result, we approach every case, from scratch, from start to finish. And I think that helps us to develop a strategy for our clients, meet our client goals, and provide the most effective legal services we can.